Rama asked. When these sages are constantly immersed in the bliss of self-knowledge, why do they not abandon all activities? And this refers to the traditional picture of the yogi, or of the Buddha even. The image we have of the Buddha is of the meditating Buddha sitting there in the bliss of nirvana. But the fact is, the Buddha spent 50 years teaching and moving around. He didn't sit in meditation all that time. In fact, he probably didn't do that much meditation. He must have been so busy with the huge organization which he set up eventually, and with his teachings. Vasishta replied, "They have abandoned all notions of this is desirable and this is undesirable. In their case, therefore, both the abandonment of action and the performance of action are meaningless. Therefore, they do what has to be done, how it has to be done." There are things to get on with, so you get on with things. Rama, as long as there is life, so long the body lives and moves and functions. Let this continue. Why should one desire otherwise? I think some people confuse liberation with heaven. They're quite different things. Many people want to get to heaven, but the liberated one is indifferent to heaven. So that's your choice. You can choose to go to heaven, that's assuming there is such a place, or you can choose to become indifferent to heaven and hell, because liberation transcends heaven and hell. When somehow something has to be done at all times, why not do what is right? Whatever one does with a pure and clear mind which rests in equanimity is right and appropriate, never defective. Amongst us, O Ram, there are many who are involved in defective action, but they, that is, the liberated ones, are wise and clear-sighted. I think Vasishta is being modest here when he says, amongst us, he means the general folk. There are some liberated ones who live the householder's life, but without attachment. There are some who are royal sages like you, who perform their royal duties without attachment and without agitation. There are some who perform the scriptural duties and rites. There are some who are devoted to God in meditation and to their own duties. There are some who have abandoned everything inwardly, but who live as if they were ignorant, engaged in all kinds of activities. There are some who dwell in dense forests, totally immersed in meditation. There are some who dwell in holy places. There are some who roam in distant foreign lands in order to overcome completely all likes and dislikes. Some are constantly wandering from place to place. Some have abandoned their natural duties and others are devoted to them. Some behave like wise men and others behave like madmen. Some are human, some are gods, and others are demons. So if you're looking for somebody enlightened, it's very difficult to tell. I'd be very careful anyway about trying to judge whether somebody's enlightened or not. Why are you doing this? What you need to do is find the teachings which are appropriate to you, the teachings which turn you back to yourself. We want some kind of sugar daddy though, don't we? We want somebody who's going to take responsibility for our own spiritual development. Somebody who lets us know that we're making the right choices. You've got to be very careful with all that. In this world there are the fully enlightened ones, unenlightened ones, and semi-enlightened ones, who abandon right actions too and are thus neither here nor there. The semi-enlightened ones, that's an interesting category. These will be the enlightenment practitioners. They've given up conventional so-called spiritual practice about doing good and meditating or worshipping God or the gods and all the rest of it. They're interested in the direct experiencing. They've touched upon it, but occasionally, a lot of the time, they forget it. They've forgotten their spiritual realization, but then they'll come back to it, either with the help of scriptures or some other device. So the semi-enlightened ones I think we can understand as the enlightenment or spiritual practitioners. The forest life is not essential for liberation, nor living in one's own country, nor an ascetic life, nor the abandonment of activity. Liberation is attained by anyone whose very nature is totally free and unattached. He whose mind is free and unattached does not get involved once again in this samsara. But even when the mind is free and unattached, it can be hijacked again, it can become attached again. This is how it goes, so you step out once again. And once you've stepped out, you're no longer caught up in the world illusion of samsara. O Ram, you are the supreme state. Remain what you are, free from likes and dislikes, established in the supreme truth. In that Brahman there are no impurities, changes, veils, cravings or aversions. There is nothing more to say.